How can you not be romantic about baseball? That's one of my favorite movie lines ever. I just think it's a perfect line. I'm doing a movie review of Moneyball. Moneyball. I rewatched Moneyball tonight, probably for the ninth or 10th time that I rewatched it in my life. It's my most rewatchable movie. I rewatched it because I was in a celebratory mood tonight, because I had my first real world audition for acting tonight. And I think it went pretty well. So I was feeling good, so naturally, I rewatched a movie that I'd seen 9 times before. So if you don't know, Moneyball is a movie that was made in 2011 starring Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill that covers the Oakland Athletics and their general manager Billy Beane, who is a little bit lacking on the money side of things and loses the big players. Everything is against him. So he decides to start fashioning a baseball team based on statistics rather than personal qualities like the look of their swing or just the feel of their athletic ability. Which, if we're just thinking about it from that perspective, I can see why people would be against him, because I don't think that we should resort to numbers to solve problems. That's being a bit general. I guess particularly in baseball, baseball is a bit of a numbers-oriented game, but still, I could see why people would be against him. And that's okay. Here's what I think. I think Moneyball is probably the most underrated movie made in the last 5 years. People like Moneyball, but not a lot of people love Moneyball. I love Moneyball. I think it's so good. Yeah, it's a baseball movie, but it paints baseball as like a theatrical drama, like almost a Shakespearean-like drama. If you think you don't like this movie because you don't like baseball, I think you're missing the point. Because the movie's about baseball, but the baseball is just an extra layer. What it really is about a bunch of people that are experiencing problems with worth, whether that be self-worth or worth put upon them by other people in their field. The movie's theme is worth, and that is weaved throughout the film fantastically. And I think the theme of worth is something that everyone can relate to, really. I mean, if you say you don't, I think you're probably lying. I mean, yeah, it is about baseball, and I understand that some people don't like baseball. It can be a bit of a slow game. I get it. But the baseball is just an extra layer. And if you're thinking, yeah, but I can't follow the baseball dialogue, like the baseball jargon. The baseball jargon is really dumbed down in this movie, I thought. I thought they could have gone much more with the baseball jargon. I've seen Aaron Sorkin movies go so much more with jargon. What I mean to say is that the jargon is really easy to follow. So basically, all you have to do is to be an unassuming and attentive audience member, and trust me, you can like films that are actually really good. I feel that's important to tell people. Moneyball is compelling from start to finish. The entire time, I'm compelled. Every single time I watch it. It just feels so studied. It feels like nothing is missed. Here's an example. I know baseball, so I can prove this. The people behind Moneyball work so hard that they got an actor who not only looks but behaves exactly like Cleveland Indians general manager Mark Shapiro. I can guarantee that most of the general audience going to see this movie does not know Mark Shapiro, so what's the harm in getting someone that doesn't look like him or act like him? But because the movie is studied and intellectual and just smart and correct, it goes that extra mile. So it can satisfy all the baseball fans like me that know who Mark Shapiro is, and know who Ray Durham is, and know who David Justice is. I could name off many more. I love baseball. I'm a huge fan of baseball. Played baseball a little bit when I was younger, but I'm just a huge fan. Always have been. And I love movies that aren't afraid of just being intellectual. I love movies that don't assume that they have to dumb down what they're saying to reach audience members. Audience members are smart. And this movie really respects the audience. I love that. It's gonna be a long fucking video. The best part of the movie are probably the trading sequences. So they're in the front office, and Jonah Hill, Brad Pitt, they're working the phones. There's one sequence where they have 3 different general managers on the line trading simultaneously. And it's such a good sequence. The scenes with the late, great Philip Seymour Hoffman are especially good. He's very good in this movie. Okay, but yeah, Moneyball isn't perfect. If I were to nitpick, I would say that the editing in the movie isn't that good. Some of the moments are a little bit drawn out. Brad Pitt's performance feels a little bit pretty and a little bit hollow. Not great, Thought it was good, not great. And I think the third act is a little bit less than when compared to the other two acts. But it's still great. I deeply believe that it's such an underrated movie. And I think that not only baseball fans, film fans can love it, but I think everyone can love it if we just train ourselves to love great movies. Moneyball gets an 8.5 out of 10! I love Moneyball, but I also love another great baseball movie called Bull Durham, starring Kevin Costner, Tim Robbins, Susan Sarandon. It's a completely different movie than Moneyball. It's more of a comedy, kind of character-driven type thing, but it's still a great baseball movie. So I thought, let's make a comparison! I love doing comparison videos. Let's get started. Treatment of baseball is the first category. I included this category because obviously they're both baseball movies. It's important that they both treat baseball in a way that enhances the film greatly. And both films do that. Both films use baseball not only as the game itself, the characters mixing, but also the atmosphere. But I'm going to give the edge to Moneyball. Because Moneyball just gets it right about baseball. It gets the superstition right. It gets the romance of baseball right. It gets the baseball jargon, even though it's a little bit dumbed down. It gets that right. If you're a fan of baseball at all, Moneyball just feels correct. So the first point goes to Moneyball. Next category. Characters. This category was a little bit easier than the last one. Characters is going to Bull Durham. There's 3 amazing characters in Bull Durham. Nuke is fabulously layered. Though at the beginning, you think he's going to be a douchebag, and just a straight up douchebag. But he has an arc, and it's amazing. Crash in Bull Durham is an amazing character. Like, he's kind of this jaded catcher who has been in the big leagues before, but now he's in the minor leagues, and he's just kind of a drunk and doesn't care about things, but sees such an amazing thing in Nuke. And it's such a good character, and the performances are great, and they mix the characters well. And I could be wrong about this, but I haven't seen the movie in a while, so I think that Susan Sarandon's character's name is Annie. I think it is. That's also a fantastic character. She kind of breathes respect into what, like, a groupie is, because her character is essentially a groupie. Not essentially a groupie, she is a groupie of a minor league baseball team, but she is powerful and dynamic. Anyway, as I said a long time ago, by now, Bull Durham gets the point for characters. Next. Direction. As opposed to the last category, this category was probably the toughest one to decide on. Because both films have an amazing sense of direction. Because they're very different movies, I get this a lot from people. People say, how do you compare movies that are so different? Well, it's just looking at the strengths of one movie and looking at the strengths of another movie. Comparing those strengths and how they enhance the film. As I said, both films have amazing sense of direction. Amazing consistency of tone. But I'm going to give direction to Moneyball. Because it's told not only through amazing dialogue, great performances, but also great cinematography and great framing and great visual storytelling. Bennett Miller, who's the director of Moneyball, uses a multitude of devices to tell the story and uses those multitudes well. I'm not saying that Bull Durham is a badly directed movie, because it's a greatly directed movie, but I'm giving the point to Moneyball. My fourth category. World. I'm doing world because, as I stated earlier, baseball creates an amazing atmosphere that's completely unique to baseball. So I'm going to judge the strength of which the world attributed to the film. I love how in Moneyball, baseball is referred to as it is, baseball. The community of baseball is referred to as baseball. So baseball, the game itself, as they're trying to change the game, is another character in the story. I love that. But I'm going to give the world category to Bull Durham. Because it's just so dynamic what's going on there. Like this small town and the minor league baseball team and all the characters on the team and the mascots and the whole stadium is amazing. Like the whole movie could be set in that one beginning scene where we're establishing all the components of the stadium, and that would be entertaining as hell. It's just a very dynamic atmosphere. So yeah, world goes to Bull Durham. We are tied up at 2-2. My final comparison category is overall themes. I include this category probably for every movie comparison that I make because it's such an important part of movies. It's an important part of all art to do with filmmaking. And I think a movie's ability to communicate a theme to an audience in a smart and layered and nuanced way is such an important part of the movie. That's what I think. And I just think that the theme contributes much greater and in a more powerful way in Moneyball. So Moneyball wins the comparison. That was tougher than you might have thought, because even though I just talked for like 10 minutes about how much I love Moneyball and how much I think it's the most underrated movie ever, I love Bull Durham too. But yeah, Moneyball wins. Please like, please subscribe, please check out all my other videos. I hope you're liking the comparison videos because I really, really enjoy them. And I'm going to do them, and I just hope people watch them because the comparison videos are a little bit longer. I understand they might be a little bit harder to get through, but I know how loyal my 18 subscribers are. Just one final closing fun fact about Moneyball. Supporting role by Chris Pratt playing Scott Hatterberg. This was T-minus 3 years before he became the biggest movie star on the planet. Anyway, eat nutritiously, stay healthy.